Sitka, a quiet, peaceful town, but it wasn't always so. Nowadays, tourists flock here in the summertime for its natural beauty and the rich history that it holds. But at the same time, this area is home to ancestral Tlingit lands. It's also the place of Russian America's capital. Where we stand now once stood Baranov's Castle, the centerpiece of Russian America. This is the story of how the Russians acquired this land. This is the story of the Battle of Sitka.
In the 1790s, the Russians came to these lands in search of sea otters for their trade. They were not strong enough to overtake the Tlingit at modern-day Sitka, so they made their establishment here at Redoubt St. Michael, 7 miles north. The Tlingits were friendly at first, but soon grew tired of their new neighbors. In 1802, they attacked the fort. All but the few who escaped were killed, and the settlement was burned.
The Tlingit knew that the Russians would return to retaliate, so they began building a fortress here at the mouth of Indian River. They figured that the shallow waters of the sound here would keep the Russian ships from getting too close. In 1804, the Russians did return. Chief Catlian led his people in battle with the Russians. He fought with only a blacksmith hammer in his hand. After several days of fighting, the Tlingit began to run out of gunpowder and supplies. So they ended up retreating under the cover of night to the far end of the island. In 1972, this space became Sitka National Historical Park to commemorate those who died in the battle. After the Battle of Sitka, the Russians built these huge blockhouses and a long stockade wall around their city. These were built to serve as protection against the Tlingits from the outside. Inside the walls, the Russians were relatively safe, but outside the walls, that wasn't always the case. Then, in 1821, the Tlingits returned to this area and lived outside the stockade walls over in this direction. They did some farming and did some trading with the Russians, but all in all, they lived in an uneasy peace